What's going on,
Hold
Colts?
up, hold up. No awkward. Last time we did one of these quick returns, it was awkward. All right, let's go.
Okay. The Indianapolis Colts finally got their fully guaranteed contract with a quarterback. That's right, you heard me. Fully guaranteed. 1 year, $3.5 million. Uh, with incentives to get an extra $2 million in the books. Adam Kaplan on Twitter said that Gardner Minshew, $3.5 million $3.5 million salary is fully guaranteed with $5.5 million incentives. Yes, the Indianapolis Colts did sign former Eagles and former Jaguars quarterback Gardner Minshew. We have a lot to discuss about this, and with me as usual is my guy, Loyalist. And I want to welcome everyone who transferred over from the Paris Campbell video. First off, thank you so much. I want to get this out of the way real quick. 6 days ago during a live stream, I did not get this shown, and I need to do that. So here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Herbert Kravitz dropped $20. Bet you Ballard trades down in this draft. What? Well, there's a good chance. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. We'll see what happens. If you would like to help support this channel, feel free to use the link in the description of this video. Right there where it says tip at Streamlabs, and you as well can get up here with instantaneous guaranteed that comment will come up. We will talk about it. All right. We appreciate you. But first and foremost, when you saw that Gardner Minshew was signed, Loyalist,
Yeah.
what was your thoughts?
I was like, about time, because I'll tell you right now, I was like, we're holding on to Matt Ryan a little longer, and I was like, could we do this a day earlier or whatever? But then you sit there, and it's like, okay, we got Nick Foles, and I'm like, why haven't we caught him? And then I'm like, okay, you sit there and you watch, Jacoby Brissett ends up over there and with the Commanders, and it's like, okay, now we're losing some of these supporting quarterbacks for a rookie quarterback. But then I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? And then, Minshew is always one of those guys pretty high up on the list, just with age and familiarity that he has with Steichen and stuff. But now, Chris Ballard's like, all right, we got you guys. It's done. We're ready. He's in the house. The mustache is back in the AFC South. Let's see what we can do, guys.
The hair. All right. Reserve says people are overanalyzing this signing. It's a good deal for a reliable backup quarterback. Doesn't mean anything for the Colts draft. Now, when it comes to the draft, I 100% agree with you. However, I do believe that there is a lot more to the signing than what is just surface. Oh, he's a backup, because I don't think he's the backup. And I'm going to tell you why. There wouldn't be incentive-laden deal if the Colts thought he was going to be a backup. The incentives are for when he plays and how much he plays for and how well he does play. So that tells me that, first off, it was reported earlier this week that Ballard and Steichen are not sold on any quarterback in this draft. Not sold at all that any of these quarterbacks can be a long-term franchise guy. Okay? So that tells me that they're looking at all of them need help, which means Gardner might start the season off as the starter for the Indianapolis Colts at quarterback with familiarity with Steichen. I think this signing is awesome because it's going to help bring in the quarterback, help him develop into being an NFL quarterback, and kind of ease a lot of guys, not just the quarterback that they signed, but the entire offense in the Steichen system. This is something I've been talking about for over a month, that I thought that it would be an amazing idea if the Colts went and got Gardner Minshew, because he understands Steichen. He understands Steichen's system. Steichen was the offensive coordinator and the play caller for the Philadelphia Eagles last year, right? Gardner Minshew started in games with him, okay? This is a situation. I like this. I love this. Do I think that Gardner Minshew is going to be starting 17 games next year for the Indianapolis Colts? No. I would not be surprised if he starts the first 4 games, though. Okay? That's just because, again, there is no slam dunk in this draft at quarterback. There just isn't. everybody has their personal opinions on who's better and who would be best for this system and blah, blah, blah. And good. I'm glad. But overall, every one of these quarterbacks, no matter how good they are at one thing, they need a lot of help in other things, right? That's the problem. How can, whether or not they get up there? Gardner Minshew is a proven quarterback starter, and with bad coaching and a bad team, kept the Jaguars in a lot of games. And then with the Eagles, he won games with a good team, right? So I really do like this. I really do like this.
Yeah, I mean, let's remember he gave the Colts a hard time when he was over there with the daggone Jaguars. And the thing is he's had 4 starts at his time under Steichen, with Steichen making the play calls and stuff. I want to pull this up real quick. Says Dave Miller, I hope everything's all right. I get it. The weather's bad out here also. So stay safe and thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, the thing is he's just, he's a low, safe, young, player. You know what I mean? I like you said, he's a backup. I get it. There's this. I don't understand why everybody's so against this. I mean, we had to secure something. We don't want to sit there and. I mean, I would argue that Gardner Minshew. I believe that he's going to give us better production than we received from any of the 3 quarterbacks the Colts had last year. I mean, between I would say Sam was probably the most consistent as far as with Matt Ryan. You didn't know the highs and lows, but a lot of lows. I mean, Gardner Minshew's just a talented young man, plays familiar with the system, familiar with the coach. Sit there, it could be a good opportunity to sit there and give whatever the rookie quarterback is, give him that introductory to welcome to the NFL. This is what I've learned. And he's done it. He's got like 26 games starting, I think it is, throughout his career with the Jags and the Eagles. So he's done a little bit of everything. He's been through the traveling from team to team. So this guy's he's mobile enough, you know what I mean? And he's, he's going to be able to get you out of bad spots sometimes whenever things break down. And it's just like, as far as a backup goes, I mean, I feel a lot better about this than I did like the Foles thing. And if you guys remember, right, I was like, hey, we got to get Foles in here just to back up Ryan. But no, this is a much better quarterback too than what we brought to the table last year.
Absolutely. And I don't know if it's already happened, but Nick Foles is expected to be released as well. So right now, once that happens, the only 2 quarterbacks on the books right now would be Gardner Minshew and look, he's okay, I guess. But I don't want him starting games, right? Our backup. I think he's a solid backup, but that's maximum that I want from him. Gardner Minshew, I think, can start and win games. He proved it. Now, granted, the Eagles were a good team last year, and he won with the Eagles, but he didn't just play like safe ball, right? That was the thing. When Gardner played as the quarterback, when Hurts wasn't in, he played the same system, the same thing that Jalen played, only not as many quarterback draws and things of that nature. I think that this is a situation where the Colts are going to be drafting a quarterback because we only have 2, and Minshew is not the future for the Indianapolis Colts. We all know this. I know a lot of you think that we're going to grab a guy like Hooker or something in the second or the end of the first round. We're going to do a bunch of trade backs, things of that nature. And that's possible. That's possible. It depends upon how this draft falls, right? If by some weird chance, 2 or 3 quarterbacks are gone by the time the Ballard gets up there and he just does not like what's left, he very well could trade back. And I wouldn't blame him. But here's the thing. The Cardinals, I don't see them trading with anybody. They are going to go grab Will Anderson and be happy that they got the best player in the draft at pick 3. All right. In a position of need. Okay, that's what I see from that. Um, the Panthers, they just released their backup quarterback, former Colt, right?
PJ.
Yeah,
Pete.
Philip Walker. Yep. They just released him, but he was signed almost immediately, if I remember correctly. I think he is signed. I
Yeah.
can't remember who.
Yeah. Wasn't it the Bears or something like that?
I think possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, he signed with the Bears. That's right. So he's backing up Justin Fields, which means PJ might get some, playing time because Fields, I like Fields, but he plays the game in a way that could land him nursing an injury or something at some point, during during the season. So really happy about that. There is rumors out there now. The Colts have called and asked about Lamar Jackson, just to kind of get feelers out because they are not sold on all the quarterbacks in this draft. I know a lot of you think there's no way on God's green earth that we can afford Lamar Jackson. I think we can. It would just eat up a lot of our future guarantees with the guaranteed money that Lamar wants. It would be a lot of balancing of the books, right? That's the thing. Mike Bloom, the guy who designs contracts, that would be a very tall task for him, but I think it is possible with the way that he has designed contracts in the past and kept the Colts in the green and not having a whole bunch of future, money that hurts us. He's good at that. And that allows the Colts to be in a position where they can afford to drop a big contract if they want. But I'm not gonna rule that out. And I'm also not going to rule out that the Colts, again, draft at 4 or move back. It just depends upon how the draft falls.
Yeah.
So,
seeing there again, that's a nice thing about this Minshew pick. It makes the transition easier. It gives Steichen somebody with, that he's got some confidence and familiarity with. It's fairly inexpensive, especially when you look at the quarterback and what they're making nowadays. But it doesn't change anything. It changes not a thing to who the Colts and what they do in the draft. They're going to look at Gardner Minshew just like you said. Let's just sit there. If our guy's not ready, come out, play some competitive football, lead this team with the fire and stuff that they deserve. Let's get these guys plugged back in and excited about this season. I mean, that a lot of them guys, Quentin Nelson, Defoe, and stuff, are still sitting there with that bad taste of 22 in their mouth, and it's like they're not going to sit there and want to put a quarterback out there that's not willing to handle the weight of the expectations of some of these veterans and stuff. And Gardner Minshew may not be the biggest dude, but I think that his personality and just the energy that I feel like I've seen from the outside looking in, I don't think he'll have any problem leading these men, whenever it comes time to go out on the field for battle.
Let's see what happens. I do like Gardner. He is confident. We can definitely say that about the man. He is confident in himself and his abilities. All right. He's been confident ever since his rookie season. Okay. But I don't know what's going to happen. We still have yet to see how this offseason unfolds. Okay. There's so many questions up in the air. Even with signing Gardner Minshew, right? As right now, he's the guy, right? Not necessarily saying he's going to be the guy in the near future, but right now, as the system sits, he's the guy. But I'd be okay with that. Not overly happy, but okay with it. But there's still so much. You still got the rest of free agency just started.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free agency left. The draft still has to go through, right? We don't know what our offense or even our defense looks like because we're missing some key pieces on defense that we had last year. We don't know how, our number one corner, our number one linebacker from last year, because I can't count Darius Shaquille Leonard as the number one linebacker because last year he only played like 50 snaps.
Yeah. That's 72, I think.
and then our top pass rusher from last year is gone. And that's not, I don't think Yannick is signed with anybody yet.
Nope.
But there's a lot of questions still sitting with the Indianapolis Colts. This is a situation where it's kind of a sit back and let's see how the pieces fall. Really, I mean that's how I see it so far. I'm not going to get overly excited. I'm not going to get overly depressed. I'm not going to, I know earlier in the stream earlier that we did, I was talking about if things go this way and we start off slow and things. That's just a what if thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be a depressing Colts fan, and say, oh, we're going to have a bad season next year. I don't see as the way we sit right now, I don't see us having more than 9 wins. I think that's our max so far.
Absolutely. We've got unknown at quarterback. We have a rookie head coach. We have an offensive line that is coming off of a major down year. Yeah. I mean, there's just too many questions to sit there. But guys, to me, I'm much better with this than what I was last year, going in with these really lofty expectations and then all of a sudden just performing like a turd in a punch bowl. You know what I mean? So this is the hope and stuff that I was, wanting to get. And like you said, Gardner Minshew he's just that little security blanket. There's not a great deal more to look into this. He's going to be a blast to watch. He's always been, that character and stuff, and like Tom says here, at least we're finally making movies early in the draft. And that's not, Tom, I do want to correct this a little bit. It's not rare for us. It's never happened for us, you know what I mean? But, and that's the thing, let's Ballard just keep turning this roster. It's going to look, we told you that at the end of the season, this thing's going to look drastically different, especially on the offensive side of things. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk still about, we haven't made, what's going to happen with Ryan Kelly? What are we going to do something with Moai Cox? Kenny Moore the second? I mean, there's just so many questions that we went into the end of this season that now we just have to, take care of figuring those answers out and giving the guys that are making the big bucks time to find those answers.
If I had champagne, I would toast basil right now. Okay. Cause that is exactly, amen to that. All right. That's definitely, I'm glad Strausser is no longer a coach here. And he decided to go to the Texans. Congratulations, Strausser. But here we are. Hey, Mr. J567, are we trading Kelly? We got to get someone to bite on the offer if we trade him, because I don't think he's going to get cut. Okay, because he had a down year, but it wasn't a bad year. Okay, that's the thing. Kelly wasn't. It was down compared to what he normally brings, and that's not saying that he's going to have a bad season. I get where me and Chuck differ a little bit on the opinions here. But I think if he's not traded, and I don't think the Colts are pursuing trades, I think they're just saying, does anybody want him? I have not heard anywhere where they're actually out calling people going, do you want Kelly? We'll take a bag of chips for him. I don't see that going on right now. I mean, we have a former first round pick invested in him. He knows the offensive line. He knows the guys around him. Him and Nelson normally play very, 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 very well together historically. He just had a bad year last year. We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not, cut Ryan Kelly no matter what. I mean, like you said, you've got to get a good compensation for him or just keep him. Let that rookie quarterback. Now, the thing is I'm still going to sit there and say, even if we keep Ryan Kelly, does that mean that I don't look for a center in the draft? I want somebody to compete against Danny Pinter. It's going to be a lot cheaper if we end up running back with Ryan Kelly this year, and he has another down year, it's going to be a lot cheaper to get rid of him next year versus getting rid of him this year. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things, and the thing is the thing that makes it easier is having Danny Pinter there as the backup fallback plan, and Wesley French. You know what I mean? Those two guys are there, so it gives you a little bit of pause, a little bit of breathing room. But there again, Ryan Kelly, for me, the biggest thing is yes, he's dropped off a little bit, but he doesn't fall age-wise with the rest of this team. I mean, he's get ready to 29, or did he? You know what I mean? So he's getting up in his years and stuff. He's one of the most veteran players that we have on the offensive side of things as a whole.
So he could potentially over the next couple of years, he's got 2 years left on his contract, Ryan Kelly does, and he could change some of his base salary into roster bonuses and hit the cap hit a little bit less, right? Because he is hitting a little over 12 million this year and about 14.5 million next year in cap hits, because his base salary is 9 million and then next year is 11.3 million. So we could legitimately move some money around on Ryan Kelly's contract to free up some cap room. So that is a very big possibility, Josh. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, and that's a good, there's another one, if Ryan Kelly's up for that solves a lot of problems, you know what I mean, as far as the money goes. But to me, it's still, you let that contract run its course. You need to have a legacy plan. You know what I mean? You need to have something going on, because I don't see Ryan Kelly being on for another contract.
Yeah, depending upon if he stays and then how he plays this year underneath Steichen,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he was to run out his contract with the Colts because he restructured or whatever, no, I would love to have that voice in the offensive line. And like you said, there is that real good history with, Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith and stuff. So, but you've got to either restructure and put some money into future picks or whatever to have a backup plan, because if you do that, I don't know that Danny Pinter's long for this roster once he hits the end of his contract. So, but these are all questions, that don't really address some of the bigger needs this year. And like I said, and that's still the guard, cornerback, wide receiver now has become one, competition for that left tackle. So
absolutely. Mr. J567 drops $5 into the chip jar. Thank you so much. He used the link in the description of the video to do so. And he says, a little something since I've been MIA for a little while. Man, that little something really helps out a ton. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much. So appreciate that.
Glad you found yourself. I'm glad you found your way back to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mikey drops a question: what defensive end do you guys want us to draft? Tom says Andre Carter. He is sold on Andre Carter. All he had to hear was Robert Mathis go Andre Carter, and now Tom is completely sold on him. To be fair, I did a little bit of research on him, looked at some games that he's played in. I'm sold on Andre Carter, okay, as a second round pick if he's there, out of Army. Now, he's still a little light for the defensive end pass rush, but Larry even says Carter is a Buckner type to me. He's built very similar to DeForest Buckner, right? 6'7", long arms, but he's light, okay? And that's because of weight limitations for being in Army, right? He has, limitations on what he can do. Once he finishes, gets drafted, he can start putting weight on, building up that physique. And then having two big, long guys on the right side of the line or left side of the line, yeah, that's scary stuff, man.
Mr. J567 says, can we just not draft a DN this year? Ballard isn't good at those guys. And I'll have a little pushback that I would say that he's gotten better. You know what I mean? Look, you look at the Dio Adengbo and the Kwity Paye selections. He's getting better at it, but I know what you're saying when you look at the overall history, with the Bandigoos of the world and stuff. But the thing is you can't quit throwing darts at that board, or sooner or later, all of a sudden we're going to be like, man, I wish we had us a pass rush.
Absolutely. Alec Guerrero for the shoe. Let's win some games. $2 on the YouTube chat. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the shoe. Haha, shoe. Okay. Just had to hit that. Let's see what happens. All right. You still got to keep hitting, and what you're saying, yes, he's not really missed on all of his pass rushers. He's missed on a few, but he's dropping every freaking draft. It seems like. I think Tyquan Lewis is a solid pickup that we got in that situation. Now he's had 2 just unbelievable knee injuries back-to-back years, but when he's been on the field, he's been incredibly solid, right? Again, the Dragon, Kamoko Toure, when he was with us, was absolutely solid. I thought he played well when he was on the field.
Another catastrophic injury that just really put him behind the 8 ball.
And that's the thing. The Colts, we may have a great training staff, but there's something in the water down there on West 56th, okay, that is absolutely killing us when it comes to injuries.
Yeah, and I also want to point out Bowders has been really good at also finding these talent, the same talent, which you're evaluating the same way and stuff. But whether it was Danico Autry or Justin Houston, I mean, he's always Jabal Sheard. Let's not forget that was arguably one of the best free agent pickups that Ballard had up until some of these choices have been made lately. And like I said, I think that is getting better for the Colts as a whole. And to Lawrence's point earlier, you get these guys with traits and you just hope that you can maximize them, Robert,
I got to go for just a second.
All right. Robert Mathis was sitting there talking about this other young man, and Lawrence is like, Tom's totally sold on him. Well, I ain't mad at you, Tom. When Robert Mathis sits there and throws a guy's name out, I sure as heck am going to sit there and respect the man enough to sit there and listen to him. And Robert Mathis, he knows. I mean, darn good and well, he knows his Colts roster and what they need on that D line, especially much better than just what the average, person who's watching from afar. So, like I said, there's some talent that has been getting better. You just have to keep throwing those darts at the board. But, Ballard he doesn't give up. He has thrown resources at this defensive line through free agency as well as through, the draft and stuff. So, we'll pull this up from Larry Brown. He says, man, that Georgia player, was coming out saying they're all pretty good. Carter looked bad yesterday on his pro day. And I get that, but let's not forget that he's got some things going on in his life that probably is a bit of a distraction, to put it nicely. So I mean, the thing is it looks like most of his legal problems, at most he's going to get is a probation. So that's a plus. And then to sit there and, sit there and hold against him what he did on his pro day and stuff. When you look on the film Jalen Carter was my number one guy. Quarterbacks, everything. Jalen Carter was is a beast. And I get it that he had a bad pro day, but let's not pretend like he doesn't have a little bit extracurricular stuff on his plate, which I get it. It's of his own making to some extent, but it's just being magnified. So I'm not giving him a pass, but I'm just going to sit there and tell you guys that I wouldn't base your sole decision on just that one pro day.
Carnage, appreciate the $2 super chat. Says, do we trade back or draft a quarterback at 4 after Minshew? You depends upon how the draft falls. Okay. Depends upon who's there at 4. I do not see the Indianapolis Colts trading up. Tom's talking about, packaging Kelly and sending him over to the Cardinals to take number 3. If that happened, I wouldn't want nothing, just him and our 4th pick. That's it. Nothing else. Because I don't think it would. It's not going to hurt the Cardinals to move down one spot because they know that we're going to pick someone that has nothing to do with what they're going to pick, right? and vice versa, and they'll still get the guy they want. So that's the situation there. If it falls right, I think the Colts pick at 4. If one of 2 or 3 guys are there that Ballard and Steichen are happy with, they'll probably grab him. All right. If all that's left is someone that's like, he's going to be someone's problem for the next 4 years, then they'll probably trade back. Okay. And I think they would have done that whether Minshew was on the team or not. Okay. That's the thing. All right. I think this is a situation because they're not sold. It has been reported they are not sold on any quarterback in this draft as being a long-term franchise starter. So just depends upon who's there. That's the only way I think that if their guy is there at 4, the only way that I think that they do not draft him is if we've already got an actual franchise quarterback on our team, and we don't have one. Okay. Carnage drops another $2, says also it's Ballard's MO. So I'm completely in the dark.
That's what I was going to say earlier. It depends on who we is. Because if you're talking about we being Ballard, then yes, I would say that is on the table. If you're talking about we being, a lot of us, no. And the thing is you were sitting there saying if there are guys there. So if they weren't going to give up the massive amount that the Panthers gave up to move to 1. Okay. There was no guy that was worth that type of investment. That's not to say that they don't think that any of these guys can't turn into being franchise quarterbacks. It's just saying that none of these guys are worth all of those assets to move up the couple spots to guarantee. But now we don't even know what the Panthers are going to do. Like I said, who knows? They may be totally in on Bryce Young. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, hey, let's go. Because now you're putting the Texans in a very awkward position. And now I'm looking at the Colts going, move to 3. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. We don't know how this draft's going to go. The Panthers, I mean, they might be there for a quarterback, most likely are. But again, reserve says Houston needs a lot there. Mm-hmm. And they have a quarterback on the plate right now I think is as good as any quarterback in this draft, right? They may not be sitting there thinking we want a quarterback. They may grab Will Anderson. They may grab the defensive tackle out of Alabama. Who knows what they're going to do? They could get a cornerback. I don't know. We don't know. It depends upon how this damn draft falls. So that's a lot. Yes, Ballard could trade back, but you got to remember, his thought process is now bent a little bit by obviously not being able to fill the quarterback position over the last, 6 years since he's been here. Mm-hmm. And Shane Steichen is sitting there, and he's got a huge say in what's going to happen and what he's getting, right? If Steichen says, I want this dude, if he's there, Ballard's going to get him because that's his job, is to get the guys that the head coach or the offensive guys and the defensive guys, the coaches, want for the team. That's what a GM is supposed to do, and if a specific player is there that they want at the draft, Ballard would probably, without any question, go get him, So here's the thing. Let's say CJ Stroud's there at number 4 and Ballard does not pick him or trades back. 99% of Colts Nation is going to blame Ballard and say that would have been a Steichen choice, right? That would have been a Steichen choice because that's the situation right there. So
I know. I understand that he's going to respect Steichen and stuff, but I can also sit there and say that Chris Ballard is also in the back of his head going, okay, I really need to get this quarterback situation figured out, or it's going to be hard for me to keep this gig. So if CJ Stroud was there,
you don't get a quarterback that your brand new coach does not want.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's any of these guys because none of these guys have any of these massive flaws. character flaws.
Exactly.
They do have flaws, but they're not massive character flaws. But the thing is, guys, you've been on Twitter. Heck, if you haven't been living under a rock, there's a lot of CJ Stroud love going on through the Colts fan base, but there's a good strong contingency of the AR-15 love. There's people like me who are totally out on Bryce Young if he's there just because of the physics of the game. Then there's the smaller collective of Will Levis, and who's to sit there and say that these guys. Maybe they sit there and look at AR-15 and Levis both at the same light. Okay, so say Young and Stroud are gone. Arizona picks Anderson. We're at 4 now. There's 2 guys left. You look back at Seattle or the 6 is 6 Lions, or is that the Raiders? I keep getting those 2. But anyhow, look back at 5 or 6, and then try to trade down just a little bit, get some assets or whatever you can, and then you take your shot at one of those guys. That wouldn't even be. I mean, there's so many ways that this story can end, and the thing is a lot of them can be disastrous, and a lot of them can be as equally successful. Okay, these guys have to grow and mature. The ones that you know more about are like the Hendon Hooker. I mean, he's 25, going to be 26. By the time he's playing, you know what you got with him. With Will Levis, AR-15, CJ Stroud, all these guys are young enough that you can still expect some leaps in their game and stuff. Get them in front of Newhouse, the quarterback guru, or that the Colts are really familiar with running these guys through. I mean, there's a lot of what ifs and woulda couldas. Right now, it's just a matter of the Colts have to put themselves in the best situation they can without forfeiting the future. Because none of these guys
forfeiting the future.
Yeah, none of these guys were that. These guys can become the future, but none of them were. You're good enough. You're Andrew Luck. You're going to be able to erase a lot of the poor roster and stuff. That none of these guys are that. Now, can they become that? Yes, but right now, currently coming into the draft, even CJ Stroud isn't that in my eyes.
No. And with the highlight that I had just a minute ago. That he can't believe that in the last 5 years, right, that he wasn't able. Here we go, Travis Raider. So I can't believe for 5 years not one college quarterback or free agent quarterback was worth pursuing. They pursued people. Mm-hmm. Ballard pursued quarterbacks. He went after multiple guys, right? When Luck went down, first off, they thought they'd go ahead and give Jacoby Brissett a shot. And he played okay. He wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. All right. But they moved on from him. Why? Because they pursued a really good quarterback at the end of his career. Yes. But they thought that we win now situation, right? Kind of like what Tampa Bay did with Tom Brady, right? Win now situation. They went and got the former Chargers quarterback. Then he retired on us, right? Right after the loss to the Buffalo Bills. They went out and got a guy with a lot of high upside, but also a low floor, who played kind of middling. He had some high highs and some low lows, but they did pursue a quarterback, right, from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to name names, but they pursued him. They pursued Matt Ryan. Again, they thought they were in a win now situation, right? They pursued him. Now, in the draft, there was not a situation. Everybody's going to say, well, he had a shot at Jalen Hurts. Every team in the NFL basically passed on Jalen Hurts, right? Except for, every team in the NFL passed on him. He was a second-round pick, wasn't he?
Yep.
So, hello, it's difficult when you don't have the situations. Like most of the time, they're drafting 15 or higher. Right, or 15 down, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard to get a guy at that point, unless you're 100% sold and don't think there's any other options.
Not to mention,
right now you got a situation where you need to find somebody.
Not to mention, 5 years ago, you still had Andrew Luck on the roster. He was here until a week and a half before regular season. So the 2019 draft, you weren't going to draft a quarterback. You, as far as you knew, you still had Andrew Luck. Yes, he was injured, but you had Andrew Luck. You weren't going to sit there and throw a high draft pick. Plus Andrew Luck had also led us to what was it, a 13 or 12 win season that so we were drafted super low. The following year, we put in a Band-Aid and Phillip Rivers, because you look at the last 3 years of the draft at quarterback, there hasn't been a whole lot of, what do you want to call, a lot of good options for where the Colts are drafting and for the draft, for the talent that was there. You know what I mean? Not to mention, I mean, we've got to sit there and figure out other things too, because when Andrew Luck went down, the wheels sort of fell off there for a little bit, got real wobbly. We'll put it that way.
Paul Wilson says, in a perfect world, which quarterback would you guys deep down want us to draft or trade for? That's realistic. Realistic. I wanted Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I made that evidently clear. Okay. I felt like, he was kind of in that similar situation with Josh Allen. Not saying he's at the tier of Josh Allen right now, but I'm saying, that he was that guy that, kept getting better year after year, had that awful turnover situation his rookie year, just kept getting better and better and better. And now the Giants are paying him $45 million. That was my thing. That's out the window right now. Hey, appreciate you, Jeffrey, for subscribing. Appreciate that. Jeffrey Bond just subscribed.
Yeah, and for me,
who is your guy?
Yeah, for me personally, I look at it this way. The Panthers trading up to one doesn't change anything. We knew somebody was going to jump to one, and we, for the most part, knew that Ballard wasn't going to be that guy. Because we kept saying as a little, unless he just found a guy that was his guy. That didn't happen, okay? So I'm still on the table of, you give me C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, AR-15. Any one of those three, I'm going to pluck him at 4. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to, guys, say what you will about AR-15. He's not a finished product. I get that. But you know what? You sit there and you put him in this roster. You let him get whatever practice time and stuff you can. This team wasn't going, you said yourself, if we're a 9-win team, that'll be basically the ceiling-ish for this team, at least as we see now. AR-15, you're looking more in the future and stuff, Appreciate you, Dibbin. You sit there and you look at C.J. Stroud. Yeah, I think he speeds that up a little bit for you because of his accuracy and stuff, because he's more ready. But, there again, it's looking like he might go to the Panthers. Okay, I get it. That stinks, but we knew that was a possibility. So, like I said, Will Levis, AR-15, God willing, if C.J. Stroud's there, I'm all over the C.J. Stroud. But if AR-15 and Will Levis, Chris Ballard, which one do you like better? Me personally, I'm going to go with AR-15 because of the physical traits and the fact that you have more time. He's only going to be 21 when he starts becoming an NFL player. And the thing is this kid's got a raw set of tools, and we all know how Ballard loves those traits. Sit there and give him the proper nurturing and cultivation and surround him with the right pieces with Shane Steichen and his elite offensive mind. Let's see what he could do. I mean, a lot of people said, not so flattering things about Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. And now look at him. Now people are talking about MVP. Now people are looking at them and talking about how dynamic this offense is. Guys, a lot of that was generated along with Sirianni stuff, but a lot of that Steichen had input on. That was the big kudos about getting Steichen, was he'd done it with Phillip Rivers. He'd done it with Jalen Herbert. He'd done it with what did I just do? Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. I knew I messed up the name. But my point is he's capable coach of doing it with a lot of different type of quarterbacks. So let's just sit there and stay at home at 4, maybe move up to 3 if CJ Stroud's available. And then let's see where this journey takes us.
Okay, so Paul Wilson just dropped $20 in the super chat. Appreciate you, Paul. Says, love the quarterback talk and just offense in general. I'm also loving our new head coach.
That's the guy. That right there is the biggest get for us this year. I'm telling you now, I'm very much on board with Shane Steichen. And every time I see this man, he doesn't say a lot, but when he speaks, it just really
Mm-hmm.
It really just cuts through to the core of things. And that's where I'm trying to get at. You know what? Let Steichen do this thing. Like you said, Steichen and Ballard sit there and have their conversations and get on the same track with the vision. Mr. Irsay, let them cook. Let them cook, Mr. Irsay. Let them do what they got to do and give them a chance. And I think that they can turn a lot of these young men into winners.
Yeah, I kind of fell in love with Steichen during his introductory press conference, right? He was emotional right there. Bam, and everywhere, a lot of his coaching signings, there's a couple of them I'm questioning, like but there was a few of them I'm really happy about. Yeah, I'm really happy about keeping Gus. He decided I'm not going to mess with last year's defense. Let Gus fix with that. I like what Gus was doing, for the most part. For the most part of the season, the Colts defense was a top 5 unit in the NFL. There's a few games in the second half of games, the Colts kind of fell apart. You could throw blame here, there, whatever. The fact that he was smart enough to keep Reggie Wayne as the wide receivers coach, that's huge in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks we weren't able to keep our special teams coordinator because I really, really like Bubba Ventrone. But,
hey, I give that time. I'm telling you right now, I think that has been the biggest winner of this free agency is Mason, the new special teams coordinator from Notre Dame. And you guys know I'm a Golden Domer, but I wanted to keep my excitement down a little bit because I was just equally depressed that Notre Dame lost him as a coach. But I'll tell you right now, the weapons that the Ballard's offering this young man, yeah, like we said earlier in the other stream, you got your kicker on lockdown. Now you've got, that taken care of. Hopefully Rigo comes back and is feeling strong and healthy enough. And then you sit there and you throw players like EJ Speed, Ashton Doolin, and just keep that culture. And guys, I don't know if you know this, but like this Mason, the special teams coordinator, he is where he's gone. Pump blocking and stuff like that has really followed him. Notre Dame last year, 7 pump blocks. Literally went through a stretch of 5 games where every game there was a game-changing pump block. If you sit there and you add that with a young, vibrant offense, you talk about some of the coaches were questioning stuff, but you look at them, they're all young. They've all been through some journeys and through some hardships. They're all hungry. So yes, I do understand where the questions come, but this is another. Let's let the same play out. I sit there and secede to Steichen that he knows what he's doing and what he's looking for. Let these guys go.
Absolutely. Carnage with another $5 in the super chat says, as soon as Reich was gone, Steichen was my number 1 dude, so I'm stoked for him and have complete faith.
Love it. Right? Love it.
And, look, I am optimistic with this signing. I'm cautiously optimistic entering the season this year. I'm not expecting a high-end season this year, but I'm cautiously optimistic about seeing improvements on a week-to-week basis. Like you talked about, 2% better every day. But Steichen, I've talked to a few guys before we signed him. As many of you know, I got Rodney McLeod was my co-host over on Believe. Not sure what's going on with that right now. But we talked a lot about Shane Steichen a lot before he was ever signed, right? So I liked what he thought. High energy. Apparently he brings a lot of energy during practice. Steichen does, so that's going to be fun. That's the big thing that I hear that Rodney McLeod talk to me, but not just Rodney McLeod. When I interviewed Brandon Graham 2 weeks ago, I interviewed him and he's like, I want to play, 2 more years with the Eagles and then finish my career for 15 seasons. Right. Then I talked to him about Steichen and he said the exact same thing Rodney did. Really high energy guy, smart and knows what he's doing, will get the attention of the players, and a guy who will not just ignore the defense either. Right. Mm-hmm. Brandon Graham talked about Steichen, where Steichen will interact with defensive players and, make bets with them. Hey, I bet you can't get to my quarterback on this play, or I bet you we beat you 9 out of 10 times on this drive, stuff like that, and so that's something that, keep an eye on because Steichen is going to bring that little bit of extra energy to this team where Frank Reich maybe was a little bit more cautious in that situation.
Yeah, and this really just sums it up pretty good. So Steichen will drop a naughty word or two and now and then, and we're better on Frank in a way, because he just gets after it. That accountability is going to be up there, and you heard a lot of that, especially when we went through the circus of losing Reich and bringing in Saturday. The biggest thing was accountability. Steichen brings that in his own way, what I mean? And then this team's going to be young. You look now, we're getting rid of Gilmore. We're still talking about some other transactions that are possible. This team's going to be young. It's going to be hungry, and it's going to have all this energy. And you need Steichen to sit there and keep it. Let's focus this energy. Let's get it into growing and developing. And like I said, hold them accountable. If you F something up, you know what? What's that saying? F around and find out. I want Steichen to let these guys find out early and get that out of the way so that we're back on track. Because the thing is I love the leadership and the veteran leadership you have with Quentin Nelson and DeForest Buckner, and these guys are outstanding guys for those roles. But the thing is whenever the whole thing starts falling off, it's hard to look at these guys to be the ones to get that change. You need that from your coaching staff. And like I said, I don't think Jim Bob Cooter is going to have any problem getting up in somebody's business if something doesn't happen. I think that we're going to sit there. Maybe you got Reggie Wayne, and you guys know he's all about accountability. I remember how the Colts used to don't let the ball hit the ground. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to striving for that perfection in practice, and then let it carry over onto Sundays. Just got to give it some time, guys. Just give it some time.
Absolutely. Charles Hill asks, why haven't the Colts cut Nick Foles or released him yet? It's expected to happen.
I know, right?
But it is expected. Reports are out that it's planned on happening. Maybe they want to make sure they get a hold of him first. Maybe Foles is out on the lake, fishing, and they're trying to get a hold of him before he sees on Twitter. But guys, I got about 100 people in here. I got 46 likes. Can you guys do me a solid? Appreciate you. Man, we are out here every week trying to get you guys the best content that we possibly can. And earlier, Paul talked about, I have good guests on. I try to do that as much as I can. I bring in guys, not just Colts guys, but guys all the way around. I've had CJ2K on the show last year, Stephon Gilmore, Brandon Graham, Paris Campbell, guys coming on, hanging out, talking football, doing the best I can. So I appreciate you guys. Just do me a solid, hit that like button and share. If you like this, share to your favorite social media. You can use the share button down there, but I need you to take over for a second because I think I have to pick up my son from work.
All righty. So I'm going to start here with Tom. He says, I still believe that a lot of changes we are making are because the recommendations that Saturday made this offseason. And I don't know that I think it's definitely much more of a Steichen-led decision-making, but I get what you're saying because he had a chance to evaluate some of these offensive lines and stuff. But I just wonder where we're at as far as when are these changes going to come in, and I'm wondering about, and I'm going to put this out there. I don't hope this is the case. He says Foles is only $2 million against the cap. If that to help the rookie become a professional, and that's the thing. The Colts run 4 quarterbacks during OTA and training camp and stuff. And the thing is at this price point, do you keep Foles on just for that exact reason, just to sit there and help? Let Minshew do Minshew, let Minshew run the first team reps or whatever, and let Foles sit there and guide your rookie because Foles, you remember, right? The big thing was 2 things. He wanted to play for Reich, and then he also wanted to be part of, he just wanted to have some stability for a couple of years. So we keep, it's cheap. Do you keep Foles? He's experienced. He has played that role in Chicago. Granted, he did it with a little bit of noise. But, he was that guy who sat there and allowed the rookie quarterback at that time was Justin Jefferson to to become into his own. And the thing is do you allow Nick Foles an opportunity to do that? I'm curious.
I just wanted to bring this up. Hitting the like button and stuff. Guys, I have to jump off here. I got to pick my son up from work. We will be back tomorrow. Okay. We'll talk about what's next for the Colts. Okay. That's what our discussion will be tomorrow on our live stream. But
I agree with
you. Let go. Yes. I saw another one. Do we keep Ellinger? Yes, we're going to keep Ellinger. We'll keep 3 guys on the team. Just absolutely without any question. But appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the donations that we've seen. If you want to donate when we're not online, you can use the link in the description for donations. And when next time we go live, I will bring it up and talk about it just like I did today. And but yeah, I got to go and pick up my son from work. So thank you guys so much. Any questions? Any final words?
Like I said, guys, thanks very much for hanging out with us. It's been a blast. I know we've been a little sporadic and stuff. Lawrence has got some personal things going on, but just know that we're doing the best we can, and we will get back to our regular scheduled programming and stuff. Lawrence has just got to, it's got to work through some things with family and stuff. So we appreciate you guys being loyal. I mean, awesome to sit here and get 80, 90, 100 guys in here enjoying it with us. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. All right. He's rocking a pink shirt. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Colts Loyalist. And as usual, we want you to have a good one.